Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2022 Poetry Out Loud Finals for Santa Barbara County. My name is Alex Espinoza Kulik, and I'll be your host this evening. We're really glad to be here, and I want to thank everyone for joining us online. Before we get started in the proceedings, I wanted to take a moment to have a short moment of silence in honor and memory of a teenage boy named Alexis who was killed last Saturday in downtown Santa Maria. There was a vigil that began earlier tonight at 6 p.m. And the family is accepting help. And you can support the Mendoza Raimundo family at bit.ly/HSTMRF. That's bit.ly/HSTMRF. And so we'll just take a moment to remember Alexis. Thank you. I think it's especially poignant to, be thinking about the power of the arts and the importance of poetry and other forms of self-expression as we think about how our communities respond to violence and how we can heal when these tragic events occur. So thank you all for being here again and joining us for Poetry Out Loud. Again, my name is Alex Espinoza Kulik. I'm the Executive Director for Corazon del Pueblo. We're the Cultural and Creative Arts Center of the Santa Maria Valley. I'll put these links in the YouTube chat for folks who are watching us live. You can learn more about us at our website, www.corazondelpueblo.org. And you can also follow us on social media. We're on Instagram at Cultural and Creative Arts and on Facebook at Corazon del Pueblo SM. If you'd like to support more programs like Poetry Out Loud and opportunities for people of all ages, especially young people, to engage in self-expression, you can donate at tinyurl.com/donatecdp. And that link is also in the chat as well. We hope to see you at one of our many upcoming programs, and definitely check out those social media pages to learn about our workshops, community talks, and Cafe Cultura events. I also want to acknowledge that we are uninvited guests on unceded Chumash lands here in Santa Barbara County and in the Santa Maria Valley, and Corazon del Pueblo acknowledges and recognizes our Indigenous caretakers of the land and our role here as guests. We're gathered this evening for the Poetry Out Loud finals, and Poetry Out Loud is a national competition where high school students from throughout the country engage in poetry recitations from the Poetry Out Loud anthology. And you can learn more about the poems, the program, on the national organization's website, which is www.poetryoutloud.org. And this program is supported by the National Endowment for the Arts and the National Poetry Foundation, and administered at the state level with support from the California Arts Council. And here in Santa Barbara, we're supported by the Santa Barbara County Office of Arts and Culture and the Santa Barbara County Arts Commission. So we want to thank all of the supporters for the program who make this happen. And also recognize that our winner this evening will go on to the state level Poetry Out Loud competition. And the winner of the California competition then goes on to the nationals. And so we'll be excited to root on our winner at the California finals, and continuing on to represent Santa Barbara County and our local artists here. This evening, we will be hearing from some of our esteemed judges, and we'll get to know each of them and hear from them some of their own poems and their own readings. And then after we hear from our panel of judges, we'll turn to our student performances. We did have a cancellation due to a medical issue from one of our finalists. So we have one finalist who will be performing tonight, and we're really excited to hear from her and announce our winner at the end of the evening. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce our first judge and performer. Her name is Laure-Anne Bosselaar, and she's the author of multiple books, including These Many Rooms with Four Waves Books, published in 2019, and A New Hunger with Ensemble Press in 2007, in addition to many edited volumes. She's the recipient of a Pushcart Prize and fellowships and residencies by the Breadloaf Writers Conference, Hamilton College, and the Vermont Studio Center, and was the McEver Chair for Visiting Writers at Georgia Tech, and has taught at Emerson College, Sarah Lawrence College, and UCSB. She was our previous Santa Barbara Poet Laureate from 2019 to 2021, and also has taught at the Solstice Low Residency at Pine Manor College. So welcome and thank you for being here, Laure-Anne. Oh, and I think you're still on mute.
There, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
So thank you for that kind introduction, Alex. Thank you very much. And I also would like to tell Sierra that I have my fingers crossed for her. This afternoon, I was walking on the bluffs that are above the Pacific Ocean, and I was walking with this t-shirt on with short sleeves in the sun with a wonderful breeze. And I realized that in New York, where I used to live, there's slush that's slowly melting, and it's cold and it's windy and it's not the best place to walk around and profit of the beautiful environment. And it reminded me of a poem that I wrote when I did live in New York and when it was that cold. And my poem is called Bus Stop. Bus stop. Sullen, stubborn sleet all day. Traffic jammed on 6th. We cram the shelter-soaked strangers shivering, straining to see the bus, except for the man next to me, dialing his cell phone. He hunches, pulls his parka collar over it, talks low and slow. It's Daddy, honey. You do? Me too. Ask Mommy if I can come see you now. Oh, okay, well, Sunday. Bye. Me too. Bye. He snaps the phone shut, holds it to his cheek, staring at nothing. Dusk stains the sleet. Minutes slush by. When we board that bus, he's still pressing the phone to his cheek. And then we have a thing that doesn't, a climate, what is it? A climate occurrence that doesn't exist in New York, and that's our marine layer. That marine layer that comes in and stays and stays and stays, and then finally goes away. And I wrote a poem addressing the marine layer. It's called To the Marine Layer. Look, I might not have woken up early enough to watch you hang your rags over the hedge, or witnessed you loiter in the yard's waning light. But I'm here now, so linger by my window a little. Stay. Blur nature's palette a while longer. Fade the jay's coat and the fern's deep jade. And wait for me. I'll come walk inside you, wrapped in my gray scarf, drizzled, breathing in your ocean whiffs, eyes closed, smiling at nothing or at everything, while the dog chases her first squirrel. Stay, soak the yard with dew before the sun blisters it away and light blasts us all with what will be the colors of the day. A tear's trace on a child's face, the muffled fabrics of a million masks, or a weed's defiance blazing green from a concrete crack. Thank you very much. Thank you. I look forward to listening to Sojourner now.
Thank you so much for those poems. I love the contrast and just the vivid feeling of both of them, right? Of being in those two different kinds of places.
Thank you.
Up next, our second judge this evening is Mario Espinoza Kulik. Dr. Mario Espinoza Kulik is an advocate, community leader, health equity expert, poet, and author. He earned an MA and PhD in sociology from the University of California, Santa Barbara as a health policy research scholar with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Dr. Espinoza Kulik is the ethnic studies faculty lead at Cuesta College in San Luis Obispo, president of the Cuesta Latino Leadership Network. And we're lucky enough to have him as the vice president of our board here at Corazon del Pueblo, in addition to being a co-host for Central Coast Voices on KCBX, Central Coast Public Radio, and board member for Access Support Network, which is an organization in San Luis Obispo that serves HIV and HCV affected communities. You can follow Mario's poetry on Instagram at Mario_poetry. Welcome and thank you.
Thank you, Alex, for that introduction. Sometimes it's hard to keep track which hat I'm wearing. So today I wanted to, in the spirit of Poetry Out Loud, read poems from their website that featured Black and Latinx authors. And so for the first one, I'm going to be reading a poem called Spanglish by Tato Laviera. And Tato Laviera was a Nuyorican poet who was born in Puerto Rico, the son of a philosopher and a writer. He moved to New York City in 1960 and was educated at Cornell University and Brooklyn College. Shifting between English and Spanish in his poetry, Laviera addressed themes of immigration, history, and transcultural identity. Spanglish. Pues estoy creando Spanglish, bicultural systems, scientific lexicographical, intertextual integrations, two expressions, existentially wired, two dominant languages, continentally abrazándose, en coloquio combate, en las acercas del suelo, imperio, Spanglish emerges. Control pandillaje, sobre territorio bilingual, las novelas mexicanas, mixing with radio rock and roll, condimented coquina lore, immigrant/migrant, nasal mispronouncements, Baraja Chismeteo Social Club, Hip Hop, Prieto, Street, Salsa, Corner Soul and Mixturando, Spanish Pop, Farandula, Standard English Classroom, with computer technicalities. Spanglish is literally perfect. Spanglish is ethnically snobbish. Spanglish is carajoli inteligencia. Which US slang do you speak? Thank you. This next poem is called The Contract Says We'd Like the Conversation to Be Bilingual by Ada Limon. Ada Limon earned her MFA, Master's in Fine Arts from New York University, and is the recipient of fellowships from the New York Foundation for the Arts and the Provincetown Fine Arts Work Center. Her work has appeared in numerous publications, including The New Yorker, the Harvard Review, Pleiades, and Barrow Street. Limon splits her time between Kentucky, California, and New York. The contract says, we'd like the conversation to be bilingual. When you come, bring your brownness so we can be sure to please. The funders. Will you check this box? We're applying for a grant. Do you have any poems that speak to troubled teens? Bilingual is best. Would you like to come to dinner with the patrons and sip Patron? Will you tell us the stories that make us uncomfortable, but not complicit? Don't read the one where you are just like us, born to a greenhouse, garden. Don't tell us how you picked tomatoes and ate them in the dirt. Watching vultures pick apart another bird's bones in the road. Tell us the one about your father stealing hubcaps after a colleague said that's what his kind did. Tell us how he came to the meeting wearing a poncho and tried to sell the man his hubcaps back. Don't mention your father was a teacher, spoke English, loved making beer, loved baseball. Tell us again about the poncho, the hubcaps, how he stole them, how he did the thing he was trying to prove he didn't do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mario. I really appreciate those two poems and the selections, really showcasing some of the breadth in the Poetry Out Loud anthology. So thank you for those recitations and joining in with the fun of the Poetry Out Loud. Our third and final guest judge this evening is Sojourner Kincaid Roll, Santa Barbara poet, playwright, and cultural artist. Sojourner Kincaid Roll writes poems that hold up a mirror for the community to see itself historically and contemporarily. She served a 2-year term as the Santa Barbara Poet Laureate from 2015 to 2017, and her work has included time with the California Poets in the Schools, City at Peace, and the Santa Barbara Public Library. She is also a 2-time recipient of the California Arts Council Artist in Residence Grant. Historical narrative and lived experience provide the framework for her commemorative work, as well as her expository writings. Roll's published work include Black Street Poems with the Center for Black Studies Research, Common Ancestry from Mill Grays Press, and The Mellow Yellow Global Umbrella with Luck Penny Press, and her forthcoming illustrated children's book, Free at Last, a Juneteenth Poem. Welcome and thank you. Oh, and I think you're still muted.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll have to begin again. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for asking me again. I'm a great fan of Poetry Out Loud. I've been a fan since its inception many years ago. And so I'm always pleased to be here. I'm not used to being necessarily with the spotlight on me. And so I thought about what I would read today. I thought of all of my current poems, I have to say, are very, not exactly grim, but they talk about very troubling and serious matters in our lives. And I thought about reading one of the poems I've been working on for the past year. And I decided that I thought that this would be a great evening of uplift. Poetry. I think what I see is the role of the poetry during the time when we have so much grieving and so much disaster occurring in our lives, and that perhaps that we also need uplift. And so I brought 2 poems to read that are not necessarily about the tragic circumstances that I've been writing about and the tragic histories that I've been writing about. So one of the poems I'm going to read is called A Myriad of Subtleties. Before I get to that, though, I wanted to say this too. there's a lot of poets that I like to remember this month of February, which is Black History Month. First of all, my friend just wrote to me that she got a roll of quarters from the bank yesterday, and that just by happenstance, it was a roll of Maya Angelou poet quarters. I haven't gotten my hand on one yet, but I'm just delighted that there's a poet on the quarter, and there's a Black woman poet on the quarter, and I'm a great fan of Maya Angelou. And so I wanted to acknowledge the quarter that came out. And also for years I've been doing an evening of tribute to Langston Hughes, because I feel Langston Hughes, for me, is a model for a lot of the work that I do, especially in terms of involvement in the community and in collaborating with other artists, other ekphrastic type, poems, or working with musicians. He's one of the first poems. He is acknowledged as the first poet to start performing his poems with jazz musicians. And he is well known for his work with children. And in fact, the book that I had up is The Dream Keeper, which I've used in classrooms. You might see that. I've used in classrooms and taught whole sections and weeks on Langston Hughes poetry, and many people are familiar with him, but this is just a reminder, it's not a whole poem. He wrote so much about dreams. The Dream Keeper, he sort of made himself the keeper of dreams. But in this one, this is just a portion: hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. And I just want all of us to remember the joy in our lives and the dreams that we all have, to keep our dreams and to keep hope alive and to keep moving forward. So I think that is part of our calling as poets, is to encourage people and inspire people toward the betterness of their lives. So I've chosen to read this poem, A Myriad of Subtleties, because it has a reference to mask. And it has an epigraph from Paul Laurence Dunbar. We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. And the poem begins. And may I say that the community of the region of New Orleans is a sort of a basis for this poem. In a myriad of subtleties, I am first taken for the stranger, the unknown interloper. Between two worlds, I am the interlocutor. I am old as an elephant, as strong as the lion. I wear the shield of the leopard. I am undefeatable. I am indivisible. I am an inextricable part of you. I am the duality, black and white, seen and unseen, dark and light. I am love and hate, the top and the bottom, the ocean and the land, two sides of the mountain, the sun and the moon, the day and the night. I am the diaspora, everywhere, all the time, the truth-speaking mouth, the all-seeing eye. I emerge from the hidden quarters and claim my rightful space in the lore of all time, in the parade of the mummers, in the skits of Pierrot, in the Commedia dell'arte. I am the face of the harlequin. I am the drama and the comedy. An unbroken line through the masquerade of time. Down from Egypt, out of Africa. I am the progenitor of Mardi Gras. I am the voodoo and the houdat. Come closer, look into my eyes. I am the master of guise. I am the yin and the yang. Fear me, love me, know that I am essential. I am all men are me. Look into the mirror. You see me, you see yourself. That was A Myriad of Subtleties. Thank you. And the second poem I'm going to read, well, it's not exactly an uplifting poem. You have to decide for yourself. I hesitate to read this poem a lot, and this is probably maybe the first time I'm going to read it publicly. Because we've had so much. We talk about the climate change and all of the disasters that we're going through. And of course, in California, we have most definitely been visited by fire. And so this poem is sort of a conglomeration of ideas about the various fires that we've had across, especially the western part of the United States. And It's, it's been on the drawing board for a few years here. It's called Summer of Fires. Summer of fires, fall of ruination, winter of death, spring of salvation. At the center of the Golden State, ponderosa pines populate the landscape, dominating the coniferous forest high in the Sierras. North of San Francisco, red blaze sears the sequoia forest. Fire, the fascinator, dancing siren-like across the landscape, hearkening desire, magnetizing, weak, strong, delectable, intrusive, blending like complementary pores shifting shape into glimpse. Fire trump shapes, checks the queen, ancient woodland hilariously whooshing through ancestral homes. Fireflies scout the twilight sky, prophesizing a time to come. Somewhere beneath the winter of snow, unspent embers in the great bed of death, mongers on the prowl. Then one not quite summer day, fire jumps like leftover words from a long silent throat, full grown and blazing. We stand back, warming our hands, eyeing the dance of flames. Its intermittent flashes more dazzling than a fandango. Eyeing the dance of flames, eyeing the dance of flames, and the forests burn, and the mudslides, and the streets flood. Even by the ocean, no water to drink. We still breathe smoke-filled air haunts us. Poor clogging ash smothering our bodies. Holy our divinity. Our souls withstand, survive the hardening heat, tempering our spirits, molding our grace. We spring from the fire, strengthened, amazing the world. Thank you for letting me read that. And I look forward to our young poet who has the task of speaking someone else's words, but with her own heart. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sojourner. I feel so lucky that we got to hear those poems, and just really appreciate the uplift and the complexity. Yeah, just really, really incredible. So thank you.
Thank you.
So as you mentioned, we're excited to hear from our finalists this evening. So I'll go ahead and get us set up here. So I want to make sure our judges are ready for with all of your sheets, and I'll just mention a couple things for our audience for kind of how this works, which is, so we've had folks participate in Poetry Out Loud programs in individual schools. We also started last year having the option for folks to submit independently as individual students directly through Corazón del Pueblo. And so we had folks participate and explore the Poetry Out Loud anthology. And tonight we'll hear from Sierra Mayoral, who's our finalist, will be performing. And the Poetry Out Loud competition has some specific rules. So the poems are, as Sojourner just mentioned, are all written by other folks. They have to be selected from the Poetry Out Loud anthology, which is a collection of different poems that they update each year, including things that are, more contemporary, things that were written a longer time ago. As Mario helped us identify, there are some diverse poets who are included in there, in addition to some of the classical poems that have been centralized in the past. And so the Poetry Out Loud competition requires that students memorize the poems and recite them from memory without any type of prompt. So as Sierra performs, if needed, we'll have an accuracy judge here available to also help out with any lines, just in case she needs a prompt. And so I wanted to take a moment to thank Evelyn Ornelas, our creative arts manager, who's also our accuracy judge this evening. So thank you, Evelyn, for all your work helping with this event and the program, and especially with watching those accuracy scores tonight. So accuracy is one part of the judging process in terms of being able to memorize an entire poem and recite it from memory. And our judges will also identify in terms of physical presence, voice and articulation, dramatic appropriateness, evidence of understanding, and overall performance. So the goal here, right, is really to encourage this process of engaging deeply with poems and recognizing the artistry and skill that it takes to represent someone else's words through your own interpretation, and the type of creativity that can happen in that process of interpreting and performing a written piece like a poem. So I'll just double check to make sure nobody needs a moment still. Judges, looking good.
I had to switch to my other device, and it's not giving me the form again. The chat, I'm looking in the chat, but it's not up there anymore.
Sounds good. Let me resend that.
The link. Oh, got it. Yeah, thank you.
Sounds good. Alrighty. So then, Sierra, whenever you're ready, go ahead with your poems.
Siren's Song by Margaret Atwood. This is the one song everyone would like to learn. The song that is irresistible. The song that forces men to leap overboard in squadrons, even though they see the beached skulls. The song that nobody knows, because anyone who has heard it is dead, and the others can't remember. Shall I tell you the secret? And if I do, will you get me out of this bird suit? I don't enjoy it here, squatting on this island, looking picturesque and mythical. With these two feathered maniacs, I don't enjoy singing this trio, fatal and valuable. I will tell the secret to you, only to you. Closer. This song is a cry for help. Help me. Only you can. You are unique. At last. Alas, it is a boring song, but it works every time. For the Consideration of Poets by Haki R. Madabuti. Where is the poetry of resistance? The poetry of honorable defiance? Unafraid of lies from career politicians and businessmen. Not respectful of journalists who write official, speak void of educated thought, without double search or subsurface questions that war talk demands. Where is the poetry of doubt and suspicion? Not in the service of the state bishops and priests, not in the service of beautiful people and late night promises, not in the service of influence, incompetence, and academic clown talk.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Sierra, for those recitations. Really amazing job. Very impressed.
Very.
While our judges work on tallying up those scores, I'd like to invite each of our judges to respond to Sierra and just share any reactions or thoughts about her recitations. Looks like Lorianne will go first.
I really congratulate you, Sierra. I'm not trying to be nice because you know, I was so impressed because you took your time. You read slowly.
Yes.
You enunciated every word. It was as if you were inventing the words that you were saying. It's as if you were speaking to us and that you had written the poem.
Mhm.
And that is very, very rare. I mean, for me, you're an A+++.
Yeah.
Really, really. I love you dearly. I wish I could hug you. Maybe one thing, but I'm not going to put that in my, that's not going to influence my points. Try to drop your shoulders a little more. But that's because you were nervous. I mean, when I read, watch it when you read, I'm like that too. You know, I'm not saying that you're the only one, but maybe just a little bit this way, you know, proud to say, but nothing is wrong with you. And moreover, you're pretty. So, I mean, so bravo with all my heart. Bravo.
Yeah. Okay, I'm hearing feedback here to me. I don't know why. Is that me? Okay. What I would say is, first of all, just like Lorianne, I noticed your articulation was impeccable. How about that? Articulation impeccable. Oh, the feedback. Let me try something else. Let me try something else here. That's not happening. Okay, how's that?
That's good.
Better?
That's
You
better.
can't have it here in echo now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I switched to the phone. So what I wanted to say is the articulation was impeccable, but I also wanted to say about your embodiment. I think that's what Lorianne was also referring to, is your sort of embodiment of the poem. And I happen to have gone to see Hakeem Adabudi a few times, once when he was here visiting and once in New York to a reading. And I would say that in my impression of his personality, that you took in his personality in terms of the person that I know that would write that poem and how that person would say that poem. So I felt like, there was like I actually was not as visually focused on you as much as I was hearing the articulation of that poem through you. So that's my feedback for you. I thought it was very strong and emphatically delivered, and really carried forth the part and the point of the poet who wrote it. So that's my feedback.
I concur with my colleagues here on this judge panel. Your delivery of the poetry to me felt very appropriate in terms of the feel that I had assumed just from the title, what should I expect? And I feel like you delivered in terms of making us feel the emotions that are behind the words in the poetry, especially in the poem For the Consideration of Poets. I felt the sense of urgency for the need of to illuminate not just the good and the joy, but also to incorporate what where's the resistance? Where are those poems that we can learn from? Don't hide the truth from us. And I felt like that's what I got from your articulation and the dramatization that was included in your performance overall. For Sirens, I really felt like I was being taken on a trip, and in a cautionary way, so to speak, with the whole Sirens. I was like, do I want to listen to that? I might die. But so I just felt like it was intentionally inviting, but also at the same time, I felt like there was a caution. So it just felt like all in, and I appreciated that from your performance.
Can I add something?
Please go ahead.
You know, I want you to remember that we're all really impressed. I mean, we're not being nice. You completely learned the poems by heart, and it was your heart speaking the poems. And there's a French expression which is l'intelligence du cœur, which is you have an intelligence of the heart. And I could feel that throughout your poems, throughout both readings. So that's it. I could go on. I mean, if you give me 20 minutes, I'll fill the 20 minutes. But I'm going to try to stop here.
Thanks, Lauren. It's really great to hear and just to have this conversation, to be able to reflect on the power of these poems, and also I think just want to lift up, I think the hard work that it takes to recite poetry. I think maybe there's a conception sometimes that it's easier, right? Like, oh, somebody else wrote it, you just have to read it. But it really takes more work in some regard to really get into that the poem and unearth the meaning and embody it. And Sarah, I think your performances of both poems really really showed that the benefit of that kind of hard work and dedication.
And I would just add to that, Alex, that even the choosing of the poems, there's one of the categories in judging that has to do with the difficulty of the material. And you don't have to, the book is full of poems. You don't have to choose a challenging poem. You can choose something that's a little bit easier to approach. But I think that you set a high standard for yourself and you reached that standard. Yeah.
Absolutely. So as our judges are telling our scores here, I'll just mention a couple of things about what's next. So our county winner will go on to the state competition, and that's being held this year, March 6th and 7th. And so I'll go ahead and put the link to the California Poetry Out Loud website into the chat here for folks who are watching live. And that's capoetryoutloud.org. And that's a statewide competition that's held in Sacramento. And a great opportunity to meet other young poets from around the state. And we'll definitely share information about how you can tune in or cheer on our county winner here. And the winner, as I mentioned before, from the state level then goes on to a national competition that's held in Washington, D.C., in addition to receiving a cash prize and a prize for their school library as well.
I also want to thank you, Alex, for being there and for supporting this and for your heartfelt enthusiasm for all this. And Mario, same thing. Poetry is difficult to convince people to listen to, because once they listen to it, they love it, And if they listen to Sierra, the way she reads, she's going to make some new poetry lovers. I can tell you that much.
Absolutely, I agree. Thank you. And yeah, I think that I just want to emphasize, we do a lot of great work with poetry all year round. So definitely stay in touch with Corazon. It's also in a couple of months, April is National Poetry Month. So definitely stay tuned for different poetry events that'll be happening. And I would encourage everyone to just think about, maybe read a poem or try your hand at writing your own poem if you've never done that before. And just explore a bit more what poetry can do, because it's such a powerful tool. And a great way to express yourself or relate to others. We've seen so much variety, even just this evening, of different kinds of poems and expression that happens through poetry. So really grateful to be here with you all, and to our audience for celebrating poetry with us and enjoying such meaningful work. I'll also mention, this is an annual program that's held each year. So if you are interested in participating in Poetry Out Loud, or you want to get your school involved in Poetry Out Loud, definitely get in touch with us. I'll put our email address for Corazon in the chat there. If you are interested in doing more with poetry, or even just learning more about the Poetry Out Loud program, definitely get in touch with us. And we'll also have opportunities, as I mentioned, for folks to perform your own poetry, to have an open mic night, and different poetry events throughout the year. So I'll go ahead and put some of those links again in the chat for our website, which is corazondelpueblo.org. Our Instagram, which is @Cultural and Creative Arts. On Facebook, we're @Corazon del Pueblo SM. And definitely stay in touch, because there's always lots of good stuff happening around the arts and with poems that we'd love to share with you all.
I just want to make sure that you received my judging sheet.
Yes.
Mine isn't adding up correctly. 666. Why do I have this so much here?
Let me help with that here.
Can you see my sheet, Alex?
I can see it, yeah.
Okay, why do I have, oh, now the score is better. It was way up there. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. So I've got all those scores in now. So we can go ahead and announce our winner. All right.
Yay!
So congratulations, Sierra. You are our Santa Barbara County Poetry Out Loud winner for this year.
Yay!
Hey, congratulations. There.
It truly was a joy to listen to your poetry, reading the poetry from Poetry Out Loud, but it felt like those were your poems. So.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And we'll be rooting for you, and I'll be crossing my fingers for you.
Yes. I hope we get to watch it. I do believe that this past year they may have televised the finals in Sacramento. They might have, it might have been a Zoom event. I don't know. I don't know whether they've said that yet or what they did. I think last year though it was online. You could watch it. It was live streamed. It's very nice.
Yeah, so I know that this year they were hoping for an in-person event. We haven't confirmed quite yet, although it seems like we might be moving in that direction for early March. But either way, we'll definitely keep our community posted here, so you can help us cheer on Sierra that first weekend in March. And just thanks again, everyone. Thank you to our hosts and our judges. Thank you, Sierra, for your performance. And thank you to our audience for joining us.
Thank you very, very much, both Sierra and Alex and Mario and Evelyn and Sojourner. We're proud and happy that and thankful and grateful that you read so well.
Yes, yes, I join you, and thank you. Just for the fact that we're able to carry on and have this event. I mean, it has a long tradition, and we've done it in person for years, and so it's very nice that we have the technology. And I want to add my thanks to Alex for being able to manage and put all of this together. And if I didn't know better, I would think that poetry was all Alex that you have to do, but I know you have a lot of work there at Corazon, and I want to applaud you for your community work as well and your leadership in the community.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Hear, hear.
Cheers to that. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
Okay, goodbye.
Take care.